I'm Kristin Holden, Where the Road Forks on Instagram. This is my 2019 Ford Transit 148-inch wheelbase. It's my second van. I've been in this one for about a year, but I've been on the road for 2 years now. Alright, so here we have my oven. It's a Greystone oven. I was going to go with Furrion, but we found this for scratch and dent for half the price. So it just made more sense to go with this. I have the stove top as well, which is really nice, and it's propane. My propane tank sits under my sink, so I just turn that on and can go this. It also duals as like a little pantry, so I keep all of my goods in here because I truly don't use the oven all that often, but I love baking, so I didn't want to lose my baking skills, so I needed to have an oven, so that's kind of why I went with the dual. My first van, I had an induction stovetop, and it just took so much batteries that I'm really happy I went with the propane. Love it. 10 out of 10, always recommend this. So down here I keep all of my pots and pans, my toaster, some coffee stuff, my coffee grinder. I have like all my utensils here, beauty products, and just more cooking goods. This one I actually have as kind of like my pantry as well. There's canned items and things in there. And then each of these drawers are, you can't see them because it's the very back, but there's like a locking mechanism at the back of the drawer. So up here I have a butcher block for my countertop, and then I have this little insert. If you get butcher block, depending on the weather, it will probably swell. So mine has kind of swelled and dented a little bit, but it just removes, and I typically just set it on my bed. So it's a bathroom sink, and I didn't need a full-on farmhouse sink, so that's what this is, and it's much cheaper. My faucet is a Delta faucet, and I work for Delta Faucet Company, so I was able to splurge on a little bit of a fancier faucet with that employee discount. But it's nice because it has like that feature and the spray feature, so love that. So I went with open shelving up here because I just like to be able to grab whatever I need. It's super easily accessible, and that way I also don't have to worry about opening up my door and stuff falling out on me. I get a lot of questions about the glass jars if I'm worried about them breaking, and I'm really not. Everything, I mean, it's a little loose, but for the most part everything's really snug, so it doesn't go anywhere. Like none of this. I've never had anything break from falling from here. So, and my first van also had open shelving, so 2 years and nothing's broken. So I feel like that's pretty good. So fun story with this Backsplash. I had actually chosen some really expensive tiles, but when they arrived, they were like massive, like bigger than my hand per tile. And they were cement, so I didn't do my research well with those. So these were kind of a last minute from, I think, Home Depot. Honestly, love them. I think I like it way better than the original ones I chose. So, and I like that it's a matte finish. So very happy I went with this. So here I have my partition wall. It kind of comes back a little further, so that way the seats in the front can extend all the way, like have the full length. I went with the wall because I have 2 dogs, and I've heard so many horror stories of people's windows being broken to save their dogs. I just wanted my dogs to be safe in the back. It also really helps with temperature control as well. So anyways, I have this door that it's a pocket door. Just goes right in. I've got more storage behind my seat there. And the thing that I love about this is, if you listen close, you can hear that just locked into place. So now it won't open. So if I'm in the back and somebody breaks in the front, it gives me a few seconds to react because they won't be able to just slide this open. Granted, they could just unlock the door and open my sliding door. I get that, but it still just helps me feel a little more secure. It also locks from the inside, so that way when I'm driving, there we go, it doesn't come. So it's not like smashing while I'm driving. So as I kind of mentioned before, I previously had another van. My first van, I also had it converted professionally by a company, and I think I was their third van that they'd ever done. There were just a few things that I didn't know as a newbie that I did wrong and that weren't, how do I say, it wasn't perfected yet by the company. So the main thing being electrical work. It was just not great. So that, and my first van was also a medium roof. So after living in that van for about a year, I realized I really needed more electrical and just higher quality of electrical system. And I also wanted to stand up all the way and just have more space for additional cabinets in the back, things like that. So I purchased still a Ford Transit for my second van. But this time around I went with a high top and a fixed bed instead of the dinette conversion. The second time around I knew exactly what I wanted, and I also knew more about electrical work. Just kind of getting into the community and talking to different people really helped me learn what I needed to make it work. So I invested into possibly the best type of solar equipment, Victron Energy, that you can get, and I'm really happy that I made that transition to the second time. I think I mentioned before, but I also went with a professional company to convert the second van as well. So my advice for anybody who's looking to get to have a professional builder build out their van, first off, I would say do kind of your research on what layout you're looking for, what kind of build, the things that you want. And a good way to do that is going to tiny festivals, or just trying to approach people who live in vans in areas like San Diego. Also watching as many YouTube videos as possible. Another key thing I always recommend before purchasing the shell of your vehicle is to rent one. So you can do like a cargo van rentals and then just go camping in it with a air mattress or something, so you can kind of feel it out. And then when you're looking for the different builders, I would definitely recommend looking at their past work, talking to the people who have had their vans built out by them, and making sure that's the company that's the best fit for you. So I kept this side of the wall, really all of the walls, pretty bare. Everything that I have hanging is all just a sticky back. I didn't build this myself, and so I'm nervous putting any holes into places where I don't know if there's wiring behind it. So anyways, all that to say, it's pretty clean. They did a shiplap like tongue and groove for the walls, and then they did this trim, which I didn't ask for this, but I'm very happy that they did it because I think it looks really clean. I really like it a lot. So under here this one's kind of my junk drawer, and this one is my toilet. I really wanted a bench here so I could sit and look out the window. But in here, just kind of have books and beauty products and small little things like that. And then this one's my toilet. It's just a cassette toilet. It holds like the gray water here, or black water. And then there's water up top to help flush. So down here in this corner, this is my diesel heater. I really don't use it that much because I'm not a fan of the cold, so I don't go to cold weather a lot. But this was a little bit of an afterthought, so it's not the best placement. I probably would not recommend that you put it here, just because if I'm sitting here, I get really hot really fast. But it still heats up the space really quickly and really well. I have my carbon monoxide reader here. I think that's super important if you have any type of fuel in your tiny home, just to keep yourself safe. And then right here is where I can turn on and off my inverter. So it's just an easy switch, and now my inverter's on. So now I can use my wall plugs if I need to. So here I have my table. It just pulls out, locks into place there. It's held in the back by 3 pretty strong magnets. And then in order to shut it, just kind of like press in here and goes back in. So I have the Dometic 80-liter fridge. It runs off of 12 volt, and as I mentioned earlier, this is my second van. My first van, I had like a Magic Chef 110 volt fridge, and it just drained so much energy. I could never turn off my inverter. So this time I made sure I went with a 12 volt, which takes significantly less power, and it opens just like a regular dorm room fridge. It stores a decent amount for one person. I'm happy with it, and it also has the freezer section as well, which is nice, and it does lock into place, which is a nice feature as well. This time around I went with the fixed bed because the first time I was honestly I had the dinette conversion and I got sick of making my bed every day. So this time I went with the fixed bed. I have an 8-inch memory foam mattress, and I cut it down to 60 inches wide by 67 inches long. I actually sleep with my head in the window, so it gives me a little bit more in length. So I'm 66 inches, so it's very much tailored to my size, which is great, and I love it. It's so comfortable for us. Okay, so here I have my closet, and I just kind of have them sorted into shirts, pants, skirts, shorts as well. I really like having these storage cubes because I know exactly like what's going to be in there. I just roll everything up. This is kind of how I pack when I go international or fly anywhere, except I use packing cubes. So it's just nice that I know exactly where everything is. And then these are like, the doors are magnetized, and then they have the soft hinges, so they just lock into place really easily. So I have the puck lights, and I have 3 different sections of the lights. So I have the front section, the back section over the bed, and then I have these under lights that are, there's a switch over there in the corner for under the kitchen as well. I asked for it to be on 3 different sections, so that way I could kind of choose if I wanted to have a lot of light or just a little bit. So I'm giving y'all some real life van life. My fan is incredibly dirty, but that's because I have the Max Air fan, and I have it where you can pull air out or in, and I always pull it out because I pop open my sunroof and it creates a really good draft through here, but it really collects the dirt. But I mean, that's reality for you. So I have a pine custom like tongue and groove. I'm pretty sure they did a tongue and groove ceiling. I wanted to go with light because I really wanted it to feel bright in here. Joanna Gaines is kind of my design inspiration. So anyways, I went with the really light wood, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think it looks really nice. So here we have my sunroof, and this is actually how I get to my roof deck. I have a small roof deck on like the back third of my van. And in order to get to this, you just, oh, I forgot it. I usually have it already open. That handle locks it into place. And then there's like these 2 little clips here that I pull out, clip in the middle, and completely can remove it. So in order to make money on the road, I'm an internal auditor with Delta Faucet Company, and I work full-time, so I still do the 40 hours a week, like 9-to-5 job, the corporate lifestyle. I was just able to convince them to let me work remote. My job was 100% on the computer, so I kind of told them I would be a happier, more hardworking employee if I was able to do this lifestyle, and shockingly they said yes, and I was able to convince them this prior to COVID. Now because of COVID, the entire company's remote, which is an interesting turn of events, but I was kind of ahead of the game, just kind of talking to my company, and that's how I'm able to sustain this lifestyle. There are definitely some things that I miss living in a house versus living here. So just a little background, I sold my house, my first home, in order to first enter into van life. I'll never forget, I was on a beach in Malibu and I walked up to a guy in a van and he told me, you have to be willing to give it all up in order to get everything you've ever wanted. And that hit me so hard. So I sold everything. I sold my house, most of my belongings, and entered into the van life. All that to say, once COVID kind of hit, it did show me that stability, or maybe having a sense of stability, is a nice luxury to fall back on. So with that being said, in January, I actually bought a house, and I understand I'm incredibly privileged to be able to do that and still work on the road. But I have an Airbnb home now that's technically my personal home, but I can go back to it whenever I start missing that. Kind of that just sense of not moving, being able to shower whenever I want and have a hot shower indoors. So I usually go back a month out of the year, and so that's kind of, now I have a home to go back to when I do start to miss that. If I'm on the road, I try and just hit some Airbnbs up in the meantime, because I think it's you take vacations away from your home, but when your home is with you to travel to awesome places, sometimes you just need a staycation in a home. So I try to give myself that, so that way I can have a sense of just calmness and not worrying about where I'm parking and all the things that go into van life. So the flooring that I have is the Life-Proof laminate flooring, and it's pretty resistant, and I also went with the lighter but grainy texture, so that way it would hide any scratches from the dogs or things falling. The one thing to note, which I feel like this is just the case with all flooring, is to leave room for it to swell, because even here it's kind of popping up a little bit, so it does swell and contract quite a bit with the temperature. So they just made sure to leave room for it. So outside here is where I have my shower. I honestly don't use it that much for myself. It's kind of just a garden hose situation, but I do have hot water. I just have to turn on my propane tank in order to use it. But mostly I use it for the dogs, and I spray off their feet, or just I give them a quick little shower after the dog park, just in case we need it. So here I have my Simply Safe security alarm system. There's a few things to note about this that I feel like I wasn't able to find with other nomads who use these in their mobile homes. Two things. It really is only to make sound when you're in the vehicle or you're away from the vehicle. In order to have it tell your phone, you have to pay for the plan, which means it has to dispatch, and you have to use a physical address. So if somebody were to break into my van and I had a physical address attached to this alarm system, it would send it to them, not to me. So I can't do that actual payment plan, and I can't have it sent to my phone, unfortunately. So it's just to make noise if someone breaks in. But I have door sensors on every single door. I have motion sensors and glass break sensors, and then I also have a key fob that allows me to, I can arm and disarm it, and I can also trigger an alarm as well. I have a very loud siren that is the same decibels as a fire truck. So up top I have 430 watts of solar. 3 of the panels are ZAMP panels, and then I have one really large flexi panel on top of my roof deck, so I didn't have to sacrifice the space on the roof deck for my solar. So I have a flexi panel that's Renogy up on the roof deck, and so all combined it's 430 watts of solar. So on the very back here, I have my roof deck, and it's 100% custom. Had a great welder that I worked with to make it, and then The like wood beams are meant for decks that are up top there. I absolutely love it. It's just the right size for 2 or 3 people to sit on the back and kind of hang their legs off of it. So I love it, and the only way to access it is actually through my sunroof. That way I don't have to worry about somebody climbing up the ladder and staring down at me through my sunroof while I'm sleeping. So from the back, both my doors open, and they actually are magnetized, so they lock to the side of the door. And it's just really nice that I can just open and have a good view and be in my bed, but also be outside or wherever I want to be. So back here I have, this is my water tank. It holds 30 gallons of water. And then on the opposite side here, this is where all of my electricity sits. Everything I have is Victron Energy, my batteries. I have 200 amp hour lithium battery, and yeah, all of the alternator charging, everything else is also Victron. And then I also have shore power hookup here as well. In here is my chaos. I really need to downsize things a little bit, but I just got a paddle board. I have my baking things, more clothes, dog gear, an extra water container in case I go off grid for long extended amounts of time, and my jackery, camera gear. So all the things kind of sit back here. So a lot of people actually get concerned about me being solo on the road, thinking that I'm going to be lonely, that I'm not going to have any type of social life. And I've actually found the opposite. Anytime I go home and I'm kind of stationary, I find myself actually pretty quickly becoming more lonely. I am always surrounded by people on the road. I have to intentionally seek out alone time. There's so many ways to get connected to people through different apps and just Instagram, where I feel like I'm always hanging out with people, and I'm actually at a point right now where I've been with people for a few weeks where I'm like, I need alone time. So I think my social life has actually improved. It just looks different. I have a lot of connections that may not be quite as deep as those that I formed, like my best friends back at home, but it's still so great to be able to connect with people from different walks of life and different value systems and just exchange different ideas. I think prior to COVID, it looked different because it was more van life meetups and those type of huge community gatherings. Now it's more intentional, smaller hangouts and gatherings that have allowed me to get to know people a little bit in a more intimate environment. Again, my name is Kristin Holden, and you can find me on Instagram at Where the Road Forks. I do sort of have a YouTube channel under Kristin Holden, but it's not very active. So mostly you can find me on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. Check out all the links below for any of the additional information you may need. Bye!